I collect a lot of photos of my family, and in a lot of Ralph's photos is Ned Jarrett.
Yeah.
Ned and Ralph together.
Mm-hmm.
And there's pictures of them hanging out. Like it's not them beside race cars or battling on the track. And they spent. I didn't know this, that they had a pretty good friendship.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
And they had a falling out. But how was
Oh, is that
their
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They raced each other a lot now, and you said that Ned won a couple sportsman championships, and that's Ralph had one as well. And is that where their friendship grew from the sportsman ranks?
Yes, did. And once they started competing, Ralph was already racing some when my dad kind of started his career and started moving it from Hickory and making more of a career of it. And so they became good friends. They were great competitors. My dad and I was just talking to him last night about a little more of this, just to refresh my memory, because they're just bits and pieces that I remembered along the way. And he talked about how that Ralph Earnhardt was probably the hardest racer that he ever raced against. Said he would not give you an inch at any point in time. Didn't matter how good of friends they were off the track. He said he still raced you just as hard. And then he said he'd be completely fine. He's a different person off the racetrack. But one thing that I always remembered, and I didn't remember all the details, so that's why I kind of went to my dad and my mom and said, hey, refresh my memory as to how this happened. So it was 1956, and they were racing against each other. They were running, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times every week. And so they ran a race in Gaffney, South. So this is 1956. I wasn't even born at this time. And they were running in Gaffney, South Carolina. My dad was leading the race. They took the white flag, went down into turn 1, and Ralph hit my dad and wrecked him, tore his car all to pieces. And so to back up a little bit, so my mom was pregnant with me. And so my mom is Martha. Your grandmother is Martha. And we'll get into that with all the names within our two families. There's so much that connects this. It's unbelievable when you think about it. But so there was so that was Thursday night. There was a baby shower that was planned by your grandmother, Martha, for my mom.
Really?
Yes, who was pregnant with me. So that was to be Friday night in Charlotte, and then they were racing Saturday night, maybe at Hickory, I believe. So had this planned. Well, Ralph wrecked my dad. Ralph wins the race. My dad is not happy about this. So he told my mom, he said, so it was at this little diner deal in Charlotte that they all used to go eat at after races and things. And he said, I'm going to take you, but I'm not going in there, because Ralph was going to be in there. And he said, I'm not going in. So my dad dropped my mom off for this baby shower which that was me. But sat in the parking lot in the car the whole time and wouldn't go in there. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So he said it strained the relationship because my mom and your grandmother were just the best of friends. And he said it went on for quite a while between he and Ralph. My mom and your grandmother, they kind of said, hey, the boys are going to be boys, but we're not going to let it ruin our friendship.
How long did they ever get over it?
Yes, they did. But my dad said that it was literally into the next year before he forgot about that one, that one lasted a while.
So you said the names are... We'll talk about that.
Okay, so your dad was Dale. So it was Ralph and Martha and Dale, and then it was Ned, Martha, and then I came along as Dale. Yeah. And so then
so you think there's some sort of a reason why you're Dale? And that because of that friendship the two Marthas had.
I've asked my parents that, and they said that
it
was a name that they liked. Yes,
yeah.
And said it just happened that it was that your dad was there, and so then we went on. So then you and Kelly, which is spelled Kelley, and then my wife, that Kelly and I got married in 1984, and her name was spelled Kelley. And then we have a daughter, our second daughter, Kelly and I, its name's Carson. And so we spelled her name Karsyn.
Just like
and I
Kelly's.
remember that your sister and Jimmy Ellis, that they liked the spelling of that name. They were going to name her Carson, but they liked the spelling of that, and so they spelled it the same way as my daughter.
Wow.
So a lot of crazy things there between the two
coincidental
families.
stuff, yeah. So you talked about Ned entering as a broadcaster. You mentioned Glenn, your brother. and I've always kind of been curious about his driving career. You both is Glenn playing sports as well with you?
Yeah.
How does Glenn get into racing?
Yeah. So Glenn, very smart person. Graduated at the top of his class out of high school. Was nominated for the Moorhead Scholarship at the University of North Carolina. So he gets there on a partial baseball scholarship. Also, Glenn was a really good baseball player and played a lot of American Legion ball around. And so he goes to, as a catcher, goes to the University of North Carolina. And Glenn had never really thought that much about racing, I don't think. He enjoyed being around. So Glenn is 6 years older than me. He's right at your dad's age. And so he goes and does that. But Glenn's just so smart and retains a lot of knowledge, some of it very useless, but still he's smart. So when he finishes, just before he finishes college, he's kind of coming back and forth from Chapel Hill. He gets the bug to want to drive a car at Hickory. So my dad is running the track and managing the track and part owner at Hickory Speedway. And Glenn gets the chance to drive a car and with some buddies of his that they had. And so he just decided he tries it. And he's actually pretty good. Glenn's a big guy. He's like 6'4", 225. And so fitting in these cars is not the easiest thing for him. But you could tell that he had a huge desire to do it, but he had a lot of talent also to get it done. And so he continued to want to. Once he got out of school, he kind of got into our family lumber business that we had, that my grandfather had for years. My dad worked at, I worked at, the whole family. It took everybody to get it done. But so he started racing on a more regular basis, got hooked up with some guys, Glenn Hoke and some people from Hickory Speedway that were legends there and as far as building cars and maybe cheating cars a little bit better than others along the way, but Glenn got hooked up there. And actually the first race, and I should have called Glenn, but his first race, early 1970s, is one of the first races that your dad came to run on asphalt, came to Hickory. But anyway, Glenn's first win at Hickory in the late model sportsman division was passing your dad and beating him.
Wow.
So it was a pretty cool night to have all that to happen. And I actually remember the first time your dad came to Hickory. I don't know if it was his first asphalt race, but I can remember him coming. It was one of the first few that he ever ran in coming to Hickory. And my dad, it was great to have him there. And my dad had given him a little deal money. He had a pretty good night. I think he ran the top 5. Yeah. And but I can remember I was in my dad's office, just a little trailer. As a matter of fact, the trailer's still there to this day. That's where my dad did business at Hickory Motor Speedway. But I was in the trailer that night when Dale Earnhardt comes in after it and said, "Look, I spent money on the tires and all of this," and he didn't have any money and to make the next week work. And so my dad said, "I'm going to give you a loan here." He said, so I saw him hand him the cash, but he said, "You have to come back sometime, within the next few weeks and race for me again and let me know you're coming so I can promote it."
Right.
And he said, "But I'm going to advance you this." And he did. And your dad lived up to his word. He came back and raced.
So he wanted to promote it because of Ralph.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Dad being Ralph's son. Dad had no real fame, but Ralph did.
Yeah, I was about to ask, why would he be promoting Dale Earnhardt? But that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ralph was a legend, in the Carolinas and all around as far as, his driving skills and what he had done. So, the name, took him right there, and people loved it. I mean, they flocked around your dad like he was the superstar already that he was to become.